Hi, everybody. Welcome to this space. I'm Jessica Ivgi, and we are practicing practical spirituality. How do we take the beautiful stories from the Bible, from Parashat Vayera, and make it a very practical way of better living? So today, Parashat Vayera, we're talking about what is better. Should we use our knowledge? Should we use our faith and our belief? And what is better, and what is the proper way of going by, and how do we when do we use every one of them? So basically Abram, so he gets this challenge and he's been told to go out, move, don't know where, don't know how, and he just goes on and starts moving. He doesn't stop to walk for a very long time, and we're talking about like 10 times that he's been tried and had nisayon by Hashem, and every nisayon, every challenge that he was dealing with actually shows us the inner movement in our soul. He was very assertive, so even though he didn't know what to do, he was just assertive and had this really strong belief that that's what he should do. So he moved. He was walking forward and forward and forward. This walking of his is actually representing us with belief because he did not know where he's going. Okay, so and really, like, if we think about it, if we don't believe something, we don't do it. I mean, if I'm told to go somewhere and I don't believe in that, we don't do it. I'm not gonna go. um Even like, you have to have something you believe in enough to accept, to be uncomfortable and go somewhere when you don't know where it's gonna, how it's gonna evolve, right? Like people who go into business together, they really have to trust each other. Otherwise, or just one person having a business, he has to believe in himself or in the universe for something really good to happen with his business, for when he moves forward with the time. A part of a contract is actually making possible for the person to move into a commitment feeling inside of him. It's not like, okay, I'll do it, like a kid tells his mom, okay, I'll do it, I'll clean my room. No, contract is like when this man goes to this woman and he marries her by contract. It means I'm involved, I'm engaged, I'm into it. All of me, I'm committed. I'm willing to go a long way with you. And or with business, people, you need to sign for people to believe you. And signing is, it's not just, it's there's a reason for people to want you to sign. It represents the inner place inside of us that I could trust and I could believe in a person or in myself. If I don't do anything, and it makes me go into it. Even if you don't want, like like today, mentoring for business or for whatever, they tell us, for the don't wait for the opportunities to come. Don't wait to be um I don't know, don't wait for it to feel like it's right. If you know and believe it, even though it's not comfortable, even though you know where it's going, go ahead. Making you go ahead, making this jump is gonna make you committed, like to have whatever. You understand what I'm saying. um and really, like, as much as Abraham goes and goes, he becomes a bigger believer, because every time he goes and he has a new challenge, it makes him overcome it, and then he believes more. Exactly with what happens with us. Like if we go on dates and we have our heart broken over and over and over, so at first we're not gonna want to go back to trying it out, but in time, as time goes by, we kind of do believe that every time, we understand that we come out of it alive. We don't die from having a heartbreak, so we're more and more are able and willing to try out loving all over again, because we have a trust and believe after we've been broken that it's gonna be okay. So um I'm just reading and I see that I already said it. My dog is barking here. So there's a fine line. Just a sec. So there's a fine line between believing and having this beautiful big belief and being a crazy person. And how do you draw the line? Like, when is it enough? I mean, we see all these people believing in themselves and they do things even though, like, biggest companies ever, they basically shouldn't have done what they done, but they had this big belief and it was worth it. But when is it a crazy person who does whatever he wants and just hurts everybody around him, but he believes what he's doing, um so that's where comes the sechel, the mind, the thinking, the observations, everything that has to do with logic. The logic is there to stop, or not stop, but set boundaries for the belief. If we're gonna believe everyone we meet, we're gonna be in big trouble. So the logic comes to tell you this is when you don't do it, or you could do it up until have boundaries for your belief, for your faith. And also, it was Abraham was lucky enough to have this knowledge and this mind and thinking when he was small, to be able to go from where he was with all these statues. But then he needed faith to go out of that place in the end, or to continue his whole life. He had to have faith. But also, mind and sechel and thinking, it has its limits, because there's so much you could understand. There's things you could never understand. But faith, basically, it's unlimited. You could believe forever, and we see people believing over and over and over again. It's really impressive, I have to say. And yeah, so that's also like in business, you're gonna have to, it doesn't matter how much your plan is really, really good, you're gonna need this belief system to be a big part of this plan, because as much as you go forward with whatever plans you have, you're gonna meet the challenges, and you're gonna need your brains to work it out. And once you break it down and you understand, so you have this new level from which you're gonna have to move again to the next level with belief that you are gonna be able to conquer this next challenge, that it's okay when you meet one and it's a part of your journey. We're gonna have to believe in ourselves that we could manage. We're gonna have to believe in people around us to support that they are gonna support us, and our own minds, that we're gonna know when it's time to stop and when it's time to believe. It's just practice. You gotta practice it. So what is better, belief or faith? Well, so it's the faith that moves us to new knowledge, basically. Okay, that's basically what I said. And then the brain is going to have to, I'm kind of repeating itself, because like I wrote it down, but then I already say it, but then I see it, I come back to the pages and I already said it. So I'm sorry. So in the end, this is like the climax of the whole story of Abraham. So he takes his son, and he's been told to put him on this where I'm gonna have to check it out. Wait, altar? I did not know that. I thought that's where people get married, but okay. So Abraham took his son Yitzchak to the older, I guess, and he was told to sacrifice him, and that did not make sense. That's like a cognitive dissonance, right? Because he's been told that this child is going to bring he's going to there he's going to bring grandsons to Abraham, and then he's told to sacrifice him. That does not make sense. And he does believe God, but then he sees like this challenge in belief. And Chazal says that every challenge is really a challenge of belief. Doesn't matter if it's being childless or being without money or whatever. It's everything about belief. How much do you believe that this is for your own good? And it's hard because it doesn't make any sense. And here it's even more than that. You actually told me. So it doesn't make sense. And this is where he has to, like, this is his biggest challenge ever. And that's why the Torah brings that, are you going to sacrifice your son even though I told you that he's going to bring you your grandsons? And that the whole Jewish nation is going to come out of this kid. And he does not understand because his mind is limited at that moment. Like, we are limited sometimes to understand what the hell is going on with our lives, or what the hell is going on with you. Why do 6 million people have to die for? I don't understand why. And that does not make sense. And a lot of people who did not have belief had to leave Judaism because it was too big. It was too big to handle. So where you don't have belief, understanding, that's where you need belief. Yeah, so that was hard for him. I'm just going through finding it. It's in Hebrew, so it's like different thinking. I mean, also having belief is having perspective. You need perspective sometimes to have belief, but we do have perspective because the Jewish nation has been have been gone through so much, and throughout Holocaust or throughout all the times that there have been exiled to all kind of places, they needed belief to hold. Our whole existence is because people had just enough belief to be able to hold on to the belief, even though it made no sense, because it does not make sense that your kids are being killed. It does not make sense that you have to be in slavery. It does not make sense. But perspective, we're here now and we have this beautiful country. I mean, we do have to fix some stuff about it, but it was all because there were some really tough people with their belief, and they were holding on so hard that the Jewish people, as Jewish people, were able to be still called Jewish people, because the people who did not have belief, they didn't stay Jewish. They married non-Jewish people. They were, I mean, till this day there are so many Jewish people that they don't even know they're Jewish because they weren't even they didn't care enough to know about it. So it's only belief that holds you as a Jewish person, and practice Judaism throughout generations. And otherwise we wouldn't have Israel. So good for you. Good for us. For people for our to have these kind of people in our history that held on really strong. Um so perspective shows us that it was all worthwhile, even though it's hard and we don't understand what's going on. And by the way, like this, there's a really good tip. If you want to be more kind and it's hard for you, do something even though you don't believe it, that is good for another person. You will see, you will get better. You will feel better. It will make you feel good about yourself, and feeling good about yourself makes you anyways want to do better, and doing better makes you feel good about yourself. It's just, it you have to break it to you could do it with money. That's really cool. Good way to do it. That's why there's this Jewish law that says you have to give 10% of your income to charity. And that's a really big thing for people who are non-believers, that they're gonna get back whatever money they give out, because it's really energy. Money is really energy, and when you're not able to give your energy, it's because you don't believe you're gonna get it back. So fight it with giving 10% of your income. Also, in the end, Abraham does not sacrifice his son. I mean, he could have not believe and say, I'm out of here, I'm not doing this. But he did believe and he went the whole way through. And when he went the whole way through, he got to have two things. First of all, did not sacrifice his son. He did not lose. And he did get grandsons and a lot of Jewish people in a big nation because of this challenge. And also he got to have stronger belief. I mean, it is so cool when you go through a really hard time and then you see this really good payoff and you're like, huh, wow, oh wow, good thing I held on. And we all have these little stories, so just imagine it could happen again and again and again if you just hold on strong enough. So he did not kill him, sacrifice him, I'm sorry, but he did tie themselves together. It's a spiritual action, okay? They tied themselves together because Abraham is called chesed. Chesed is the kind part, is the loving part in this world, and it's the belief, I would say. And Yitzchak is the gvura, which means boundaries and the thinking side in our soul. And both of them together is what really is supposed to happen in our lives in a good manner, in a way we could take it to a really good place. And it comes to, I don't know if I should, let me think for a second if I want to say some more. It's too important not to say it, so I'm gonna say it. There is a really big thing about making peace with your past, and it does have a lot to do with what we're talking till right now till now. We went a very long way in our life. We've dealt with challenges, and like just Abraham, and and we have a lot of stories to tell, and sometimes we realize that we have made mistakes, that we've learned, that we've grown, and sometimes there are gonna be things, stuff in our past that are we're gonna be shameful about it. We're gonna feel bad about it. We're gonna have regret, and it's not an easy thing to feel. Um, there's a lot of shame. What? How could he have taught? How did I even let people talk to me this way? Or how did I treat them this way? Or it's kind of shameful. We don't want to be there, and these feelings of regret and shame and not feeling bad about it is totally fine, totally okay feeling it, and we could admit that it happened, but also understand that it was just a part in our journey, and be okay with it. And I'm talking about really heavy stuff that obviously we all know, like what we've been through, and you could understand and relate through that. um Saying, I mean, ignoring whatever happened in my past, or not relating to pieces of my in my childhood, like, not talking ever about it, or not mentioning parts. I don't think we should go out telling people our traumas and like talking about these hard things, but not being able or not being willing to even touch it when it comes up, that's problematic, because that also means you're ignoring a part of yourself. You're not that is a part of you. Whatever you've been through, it is a part of you, at least, even just a little bit. So whenever we, like, imagine a kid being ignored in class, that is not different, because we are built from a lot of little kids, from a lot of little ages and people inside of us, that we've been a lot of people in just one lifetime, and being ignored from the other parts of me, that's really, that feels bad for that part, and that part is also a part of you, and that means that a part of you feels bad. So stop doing that. Just, own it. um and because it's so insulting when I ignore myself, so it starts to feel there's stuff starting to bubble up inside because no one sits for too long when he's ignored. And then the mind starts to do things that are bad for me because just that's just how it works. Because I'm not in oneness with myself. It's like this fight. And then the brain has to find a way out of this fight because he doesn't like feeling it. So he's gonna like find these roots around it, and I'm gonna have feelings or actions that are not good for me, and I'm not gonna understand why I'm doing it, or I'm gonna go into situations in life where I don't understand why it happens over and over and over, but that's because your brain is so smart that he finds his roots around what your soul is not willing to meet, and just don't be surprised, okay? Because we ignored ourselves, so our mind cannot take into consideration all of my parts because there's stuff I'm not letting in. Um, yeah, there is something very strong and grown, grown, like a grown up is, and saying, yeah, this is what happened to me. I don't like it, but it did happen, or I don't like the fact that I did it, but I totally own my actions, and I totally regret it, and I'm here now with all of my parts standing. Something really, really powerful about that. When you see a person owning to his situation, oh my God, like you can't even argue with that. And also in court, they're always gonna have less of a punishment when you just own it. It's really impressive. No matter what you've been through, just own it. Um, so people really don't want to go back. And, therapy is kind of losing its spark. I do believe in therapy, but a lot of people have been getting sick of it because it's going all the time, it's going back. And today there's so much really good therapy, kinds of therapies like EMDR and EMID, that they don't go back, they just look forward and see what they could help with when something comes up. And you kind of need to believe that even if you let go and not go back, I don't think you should always go back and like, okay, so I was born in and I died and died in and just go really back and all the time deal with it and like go around it. I don't think how much it really works. I mean, it does for some, but there's better stuff, I think. But don't listen to me. I'm not a doctor. I just have my own experience and a lot of other people experience that I know about, but still don't listen to me. And you just have to believe that life is gonna meet you with any parts of you that want to be looked at throughout time, and you're gonna meet challenges, and you're gonna understand that this is something that wants to be dealt with, and that is the time. You're not always gonna, and there's also part in believing in yourself enough to say, I'm not ready enough to meet this now, and that's okay, and this it's gonna happen again anyways, because wherever you go, you take all of yourself with you. You cannot run from yourself, you just can't, and it's gonna come up anyways. So, if you're strong enough now to meet the challenge and do it, I think it's best. And if not, that's also best. Saying I'm not ready now, it's really good to do that because you're going to give yourself time and you're going to show yourself that you trust enough to know when it's a good time and when it's not a good time, and that is totally fine. Um, yeah. Yeah. So I said that, and I think we're not always, because we're taught, okay, so do we need belief or do we need brains, right? Like understanding what happened. So you're never ever gonna understand everything that happened to you just because you don't have enough perspective, because you're in this lifetime, and that's not enough to understand like a lot of things we are gonna understand. Sometimes we're not, and that's just where you need belief, to understand, okay, I do not know why this happened, but I believe enough to understand, because I've seen enough times that I was using my brains and I did see how it worked out for me. And if you ever want to feel good about anything that happened to you, just find one thing that was good about this whole situation, even if it just made you stronger. Even if don't be you don't have to be happy bad stuff happened, but if anything, just find this one thing, how it was also good, or how it worked out for you to have a better personality or a better experience or a better chance in helping other people, because you know how painful that thing was. That is also, I'm gonna say good, but it's a for the better kind of thinking. And you just have to believe. Sometimes you're not gonna know, you're just not, and that's believing. And you could understand, you could try to be really strong about it, and you want to understand everything that ever happens because you really rely on your mind. But try that, let me know how was it, and we'll see who breaks down first. The thinking person or the believing person. um yeah, so I think that's it. And basically, let me see. I just want to say that I don't think you should, like, I just want to say that regretting, even though it feels bad, it's a good thing that happens in society. You have to have regret, you have to have conscience, you have to have these kind of stuff. You don't have to dwell in it, but just just enough time to have it point out what you have done till now. And it's only when that kind of stuff, bad feelings happen. I mean, it's not even bad, we don't have to even say it's bad, it's just a fact. It doesn't feel nice, but it's not bad, because you have to have regret in order for you to understand, to sign this whole time as one thing, and then you have to have this feeling that is strong enough to make you want to change, and for the rest of the time to be better. So I just wanted to say that it's good to have these unkind feelings sometimes, because they are also for the best. So thank you for listening out. I'm sorry if I was a little tired today. I am very tired today. Had a very long night. Not sleeping really, so I'm not so energetic. But I always try, and I don't want to give up on giving this content, because I really believe in it, and I hope it spreads out to people who would want to who would want to listen to the Jewish way of thinking, even if you're not Jewish and even if you're not religious. I'm Jessica Ivgi. This is the space, and I thank you for being here.